And hello, everyone. Let me just hit slideshow. Okay, you should be seeing my screen.
We
So,
are.
as we talk about using negotiation frameworks for professional success, you could throw in personal success, whatever that is. Really, for me, it all comes down to one core reason. Excuse me. And that's what I call it's avoiding the uh-oh moment. And if you're like, well, what's the uh-oh moment? It's not the live or die moment in life. You're going to survive this thing, but you're going to wish you didn't have to deal with the uh-ohs. They're uncomfortable, they're awkward, they're not fun to have. So, what's an uh-oh? In the work context, let's say you are, gosh, you're sharing the results of a presentation on, you did a study on maybe it was messaging research. It's going great. The data looks fabulous. And then a senior leader goes, "Oh, but what marketing channel should we be doing this in?" And you're like, uh-oh, was that important? Because didn't know that was something you wanted to learn. Now, yeah, you can get yourself out of that, but it's not great. On the personal side of things, maybe you have friends over for dinner. You cooked a great roast chicken dinner, and someone's new significant other is vegan. Uh-oh. Again, not live or die, but man, you wish you weren't there. So how do we think about avoiding those uh-ohs? I like to use a really basic kind of framework approach. And this comes from very classic negotiation training. And I would suspect that honestly, as research folks, you guys are all primed to do this pretty naturally, but maybe not, maybe in your research lives, but not maybe in some of your other lives. So it's a 4-step process. And in a moment, I'll take us through an actual example of what this looks like. But let's first look at those 4 stages in action. So stage 1, plan and prepare. This is when you're getting ready. You're pulling a little bit of information together and you're starting to formulate that plan of attack. That then takes you to step 2, which is discuss and exchange information. And this is really the opportunity to go, was my plan of attack right? So you're gathering a little bit more info, you're piecing the story together, you're starting to get a better sense for where you need to be headed, which then takes you to step 3, clarify and bargain. At this point, it's all about reconciling everything you heard, getting a sense for what people really do want, what they're willing to give up, to then get to step 4, which is around commitment. And that is when you get consensus around the path forward. So what does this look like in action? So I mapped out here. This is a pretend project. In your heads, feel free to think about this in the context of, honestly, any project where there are multiple parties involved and you've got to come to a consensus so that, again, you can avoid that uh-oh. So step 1, plan and prepare. What goes on here? So at this point, again, let's say it's a research project, and whether you are in-house working with a colleague in a different department, or your agency and you are working with someone, different organization, it's when you're getting ready for that plan of attack. So you're having those conversations with your client lead or project lead. You're getting a sense for what you think they need. And you're starting to formulate that plan. Could be a scope of work, could be a research plan. Don't care what you call it, tomato, tomato. It's that initial framework that you're going, I think this might be it. But saying, I think, acknowledges that you're not sure, which then takes us to step 2, discuss and exchange information. So at this point, maybe you're going to have some kickoff sessions. You're starting to get some information from other folks about what they think and believe. Again, I'm using intentional think and believe words because we aren't at anything concrete. And at this point, you're doing things like goals clarification. Maybe you're revisiting the original goals you heard from the client lead, and you're going, hey folks, still correct? Have things evolved? Anything we should add, remove? How do we begin to adapt to this? And at this point, it's also really an opportunity to begin understanding what's going to be done with this work, because you might also have some recommendations. So you're getting some clarification on what those needs are. And dare I say, most importantly, and that's why I have asterisks around it, you are soliciting feedback. And that means that you are making a very intentional effort to hear from everyone you should be hearing from. So that means make sure you're getting those insights or intel from the major stakeholders. That could be anyone who's going to be using the work, anyone who's the boss of your client lead, whoever those important people are. And if you do have comfort with your client or project lead, and oftentimes I'm fortunate to have that, I overtly ask, Who's the squeaky wheel? Who's that person in your org who just feels like they have to be heard? Fine, give it to them. Let them be heard. Make sure you're getting all of those pieces of intel in there. And with that, yeah, it might be inconvenient to do that. Don't care. Make it happen. You have to work around everyone else's schedule. If the only time the squeaky wheel is available is when they're driving to their kids' soccer practice, guess what? You're going to be part of their commute. If the only time someone else is available is early in the morning, okay, you're going to make that work. Because all of this really is valuable because it takes you then to step 3, which is clarify and bargain. At this point, you get to share everything you've heard, all those perspectives, and you get to also be really proactive about pointing out where you heard things that just don't quite work. Maybe there are goals or needs that are completely misaligned. Be overt about it. Say, hey, this ain't gonna work. Where are we headed with this? Maybe you heard things that are completely out of scope and out of budget. Again, be proactive about voicing that, because that becomes a forcing function to then prioritize. What do people need to have? What are they willing to give up? Which then takes us to step 4 around commitment. At this point, you're really finalizing those goals and objectives and needs. You're getting confirmation. You're explicitly putting those out there. And once you're there, you're reiterating those goals every step of the way. You got a discussion guide you want them to see? Be like, hey, these are our goals. You have a final report you got to share? Hey, by the way, these were our goals. Because end of the day, if your goal is to avoid the uh-oh moment, then you need to make sure that folks understand what it is they're going to be learning, what they're going to be getting. And so when they ask something that could derail you or take you to the uh-oh, you're like, hey, so glad you mentioned that. Let's chat about after the fact for a subsequent project, because right now, these were the goals. So without further ado, as everyone preps for the breakout sessions, I want to lead you with this one big question. And that's, think about the last time you had an uh-oh moment. Again, that uh-oh could be professional, could be personal. Just again, please keep it PC for this group. What piece of information could you have gathered, or who could you have talked to up front to avoid that uh-oh?